Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Own Your Greatness. I'm your host, Sienna with Melinda Van Fleet. Thank you, everyone, for watching today. This is our July video, and this month we are also going to be talking about nonfiction books again. And we just started that last month. Beforehand, we did some fiction books, but we kind of wanted to try something different. So this month we are kind of doing the same as we did last month by talking about what books we read, and then we are discussing kind of how this relates in a bigger picture to life and society in general.
Yes, welcome everyone. Thank you, Sienna, for being my amazing co-host. As always, this is super fun. So I listened on audio to The Surrender Experiment by Michael A. Singer many years ago. And I wish I could remember exactly when, because the book came out in 2015, but maybe like 2018, something like that. Have you ever heard of that book, Sienna?
I've never heard of it.
Yeah, it's really incredible. Just for context, everybody, if you haven't heard of it, there's 11,000 reviews on Amazon with a 4.6 rating, and there's 19,000 reviews on Goodreads with a 4-star rating. So it's a very popular book.
It sounds like it.
Mhm. And what about you?
I am reading Out of Orange by Cleary Wolters, and for those who don't know, it is kind of like a book. Okay, so I have to introduce the book that came before it. Basically, um, if any of you have heard about Orange is the New Black, it's also a Netflix show and it's been on for years. It has many seasons and it is actually based off of a true story of a woman who knew this author. They both went to jail because of the same reasons. They both went because of smuggling drugs. And first I read Orange is the New Black, which I highly recommend. I really enjoyed that book, and I also have watched the show like a couple of years ago. I never finished it. Um, and if you've watched the show, I recommend to read the book because it's completely different. Like the show makes everything so much more dramatic, which makes sense. And I kind of was shocked reading the book. I was like, where's all these dramatic stuff that happened? But it never happens. It was actually a lot more chill than what was portrayed in the show. But after that series was released, this author who knew the woman who wrote the Orange is the New Black book, she was like, I want people to know my story too. I can't just leave my story left out. So that's why she wrote this book. And it was pretty, well, it was in the middle to me, honestly. I was very in the middle about it. The beginning was good, and then it kind of got a little, I'll explain that later a little bit more, but it was in the middle for me. Half of it was good, and half of it I was like, this could be better in my opinion, but yeah.
Gotcha. So just so I'm clear, because I've never heard of this book, and I did watch Orange is the New Black periodically on and off throughout the years. I think maybe it went on for like 5 seasons, something like that. And it was
Mhm.
good. A lot of the sex scenes weren't really my thing, but fast forward, to be honest. But I thought that was good. And I liked Oz, which was another prison show on HBO years ago. I don't know if you've ever heard of it, but also extremely well written, great show. Again, forwarded through the sex scenes, but very, very amazing show in terms of like all the things that people go through in prison and outside of prison. So anyhow, so that book you're talking about is from someone that was in prison with them, or okay, I just want to make sure I get
Yes.
that right. Okay.
So if you remember the show, Piper was the blonde, she was the main
Mhm.
character, and her
Yeah.
girlfriend in prison, this is who
Oh,
wrote
that's
it.
her story, the
Yes.
girlfriend story. Okay, gotcha.
Yes.
So it really is the girlfriend's story then. Okay.
Hmm.
So it's not as exciting as Piper's story. So I thought she was a compelling character. That's very interesting.
It
But again,
it
it's
definitely
TV.
it definitely was interesting because I was expecting so much more like from the show because I watched the show before I read both of the books. So I was kind of expecting this woman to be like number one, I expected them to both be in prison together as the show portrays, but they weren't in prison together for I think they were only in prison together for 1 month before Piper actually got like released. And they never
Oh,
dated.
wow.
They never
Oh my
dated
gosh.
in prison. There was never dating. They never dated in prison. They dated beforehand, but they were done. Like Piper was like absolutely not. Like after she got detained. So,
Wow. Okay. Yeah, they definitely changed that for the
yeah.
Netflix series.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow. So what did you take away from it then? Because that's it's a pretty big journey to get arrested for something so
Hmm.
serious as that and be thrown into, federal prison and go through the system. So,
Yeah. I would say through those books, so Piper's book talks more about her experience in prison, and this one talks about her experience, her smuggling experience before she got into prison. There's a bit of the end of the book is more of her in prison, but it's a very short period of time. Um, but I would say like it was interesting to see how Cleary got into this position of her being arrested and how this happened to her, and it's a lot about money, like a lot about what the book portrays, about what her story portrays is that she did this for the money, and she did this because she felt like she had no other thing to do. She had no other way to help support herself. And um as soon as she got into this business, this drug smuggling business, she felt like she could not get out of it because she felt that she would get arrested earlier on if she tried to get out of it, or um the people in charge of the drugs would harm her family, harm herself, or threaten to do something terrible to her if she left the business.
yeah. So I have a really big question for you because this is fascinating, something I've noticed over the years and something I have personal experience on from when I was a teenager that you don't know. And where I'm going with this is, did you feel like when you read the book, it glamorized smuggling or anything like that in any type of way?
I would definitely say in when she first started doing it, and I think she
Hmm.
wrote it in this perspective to help people understand like how it's seen at first, is that it seemed really awesome and like she was getting all this money and taking vacations and just relaxing in this. And as when it progressed, it kind of got to a point where I was like, I just felt like uneasy reading it because then she kind of showed the true thing of where it's like it's exhausting, it's terrifying, constantly having to do this and feeling like people are watching you 24/7 and just the paranoia. It made me uncomfortable.
Okay, well, that's good. That's positive and a good response because what I've seen over the years, and I'm trying to think of what documentary it was, but it was a documentary about a woman who got arrested for smuggling. But
Mhm.
the whole documentary, up until the very last part, was glamorizing the lifestyle. And again, it was a pretty big arrest, and it was several years ago. But the documentary was on a big channel, like a Netflix or something. And I was so, because of my own personal experience that I don't feel like sharing right here, I was so disheartened because when you get arrested and you have something like happen like that, that's so tragic and then messes up your life,
Uh-huh.
um, to glamorize it for like 7 episodes before you finally get into um, how horrible it is and what it does for you and the embarrassment and the shame and all the things you have to go through. It was really
Mhm.
unfortunate that that documentary did that. And now with, your uncle and I talk about things like this a lot. Now with, social media and YouTube and people having this platform, heck, we have a platform here, right here, right? So I'm
Mhm.
not, being, sounds like being a hypocrite, but it's all in context. People have a platform to speak and be seen. And so people are very susceptible to thinking something is great or thinking something is shiny and not really seeing the underbelly or not really understanding what's going on in the relationship or the business or whatever. And they think that to be true. And it just becomes like a whole like landslide of chaos for people. and because they don't really know the truth. So I'm glad to hear that your perspective and that it made you feel yucky. So that's a good thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that was her point, and
Be
I'm
scared.
hoping that was her point.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Because
because unfortunately there's, too much out there that isn't showing actually what can happen to people if they break the law, whatever
right,
which way you slice it. So
right.
yeah, so that's good. So how many stars would you give it out of five?
I think on Goodreads I gave it a 2 or a 3,
Oh,
and
wow.
on Goodreads a lot of people felt the same way as me. There were just a lot of really unnecessary random descriptions of things that had like no addition to the to her story at all. Like I remember, and you can, if you go on Goodreads and look at the lower reviews, you all will probably be able
Color.
to see sometimes like she'll just randomly talk about her cats for no reason. And like I love cats, but it was the weirdest thing in the world. It's like in all of the lower like stars on Goodreads, you will see it. It's very bizarre. Yeah.
That's interesting though, because I've come to learn, and your mom would probably laugh at me, that cats are like really the smartest animals out there.
Hmm.
And so you wonder if there's like some tie between her and the cats, and maybe she didn't pay attention to any signals or signs that the cats were maybe trying to tell her. There could be some messages there on a deeper metaphysical
Maybe.
level. So
Cats are very
um,
smart.
yeah, yeah. So it's kind of interesting. So anyhow, well, that's cool. And I have a question for you too about your rating. Would you consider yourself someone who's a really hardcore reviewer, or you tend to lean like to be kind of nice?
I would say I'm in the middle. Like I'm not definitely not nice because if you go on my Goodreads channel and see my stuff from this year, especially in the beginning, especially with fiction books, my reviews are very low.
Oh,
So,
wow. So you're
yeah.
hardcore. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
I'm
interesting,
very
keyboard warrior.
I'm very picky with fiction books lately
Hmm.
just because I've seen so much of the same thing and I'm like,
True.
please, you
Hmm.
know.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, we're kind of overrun with like too many dragon and fairy eating
Yes,
each
all
other's
the fairy
books.
stuff. Oh,
Horrible. Yeah, I know. It's like, yeah, that's why my book, everyone that I'm writing, my book series has nothing to do with dragons and fairies, and it will be
well
more
done.
sci-fi. As I've been working on my book series, I'm definitely leaning more sci-fi. So I actually have probably changed some of my marketing. So yeah, I think the fantasy lane has gotten a little out of hand. Mhm. So, anywho, so yeah, so my book that I listened to on Audible, I would give 5 stars. And here's why. Because I refer to it often in my mind. And I think when a book that is fiction or nonfiction, because my fiction book with sci-fi angle will be worldview. So if you have a book that lingers in your mind over years, again, I don't remember exactly when I listened to it, but it could have been like 2018, because it was definitely when I was in sales and I had time in my car to listen to audiobooks. When you kind of find yourself like consciously like referring to it, going, oh yeah, this is so surrender experiment, it's a good book. So I just to give a premise of this book, I actually live my life for the most part as much as I can in a surrender experiment. And what does that mean? So Michael Singer, who's now I think like 78, when he was 22, he decided he was in college in northern Florida, I think Florida State perhaps, to kind of surrender his life to seeing like how it evolved and how everything played out. And the whole book is like documented from his journey of like purchasing land, and then how people came to the land and asked if they could use the land, and they built like a temple that was pretty much for any denomination. It wasn't necessarily like a certain religion. It was just, for people, and how that evolved, and how it evolved for him to create a company, and how the company got bought, and then how the company went through a big like lawsuit for fraud, like this whole thing. I have the chills. and how it unfolded. And that is literally like how our lives are. Like, yes, you can take action and you can hustle, and those things are good. I don't believe that people should just sit back and not do anything. And he certainly did not live a life like that. But there's a certain part of like really understanding that the divine speaks through you. And if you're listening and you're not um totally bogged down with all the distractions, especially nowadays that are out there, that you're going to be guided through your life and everything works out. Like your uncle and I have so many stories, crazy stories. I mean, we created this life that we live in here based on me meeting your uncle and wanting someone who had a hobby because I had trouble dating and I surrendered to meeting someone when your mom told me she was pregnant with you. Like our whole story of how like this all evolved over time to live here in the Keys and have Good Karma Sport Fishing, which is now Good Karma Sport Fishing educational programs. Like I like my whole life has been a surrender experiment along with taking action and along with trusting and believing. So again, this book just really resonated with me as I would listen in my car and be like, oh yeah, yep, I get it. And I like refer to it often in my mind. So it's truly an incredible book and it's really how life is. And he was, I guess you could say, fortunate. I was just reading one of the Goodread reviews before we made this camera live, and someone was like, "Oh, must be nice to live in a fairy tale." Well, the more you're conscious of that, the more you're conscious of that, and you trust your intuition and you take action along the way, you'll realize your life is a fairy tale. Like it literally is. So I kind of laughed at the review, and he's obviously 3D and not really aware of how things really work. But anyhow, a lot of people probably have that point of view, and that's fine, and that's their journey too. So we all have to surrender to other people's journeys, like in the process. Yeah, so I highly recommend it, and it's great listening to on Audible, especially if a long drive or vacation, or if you want to read the paperback. It's not a heavy read by any means. It's actually just listening, as he documents the story. I think the flow is great. So from a writing perspective, in terms of writing tips, if you're looking to write a story that's like a memoir or in the parable type vibe, this is a good example to follow as far as style and flow and pacing, which I think is really important. I think the book has really good pacing that is a good model to follow as far as a writing tip for someone out there looking to do something similar. So yeah. Yeah.
That'd be nice. I've never heard of that book.
Yeah. And it's funny because it's also really important to realize that like yes, you have yourself and what you're working on for your own goals, but we're all connected, right? And connection's super important. And it's super important to also surrender in terms of relationships and people, right? Because when we put our own expectations on other people for them to do something for us, well, that often creates conflict in relationships. So I think that it's just also expansive to when you read a book like this or you hear this conversation that you think about, okay, how does this even show up in my life? How does it show up with my children? How does it show up with my spouse or partner? How does it show up with my friends or work relationships? Any which way you slice it. So, you can share something with someone, but then you have to surrender, right?
Mm.
So you have to surrender for them. So yeah. So a great example and something you're working on that we were also talking about before the camera started rolling was your website, right?
Yes.
So years ago, I think it'll be 3, if not 4, I had an intuition hit to purchase your URL for you. So if you don't know me and my husband, we have websites and we've ranked very high in SEO for Good Karma Sport Fishing. So I have a lot of experience in this. And I had an intuition hit to get Sienna her URL and kind of put it away for her birthday. And her birthday came, she didn't know what it was. She's like, what? I'm like, you'll you'll use it someday. Like, so I surrendered,
Yeah.
right? I didn't like pressure. I just explained what it was. And you're like, okay, you're in high school. You're like, whatever. And then I think last summer I brought it up to you and you weren't really like ready. And I didn't push you. I was like, okay,
Mm,
that's cool. That's fine. Enjoy your summer. You're going to college, enjoy your summer. And what happens, especially with parents and kids, is they, try to push something on someone. But if the person's not
mm,
ready to receive or do it, the energetics just aren't there. So I was like, okay, cool. And then your school year went by in the beginning of summer. I said to you again, what do you think about working on your website this summer? And you were like, I've been thinking about that too, right?
mm-hmm.
So I hooked you up with Brandon, who is our SEO developer, not SEO really, but web developer behind the scenes that has helped us. We do our own SEO. And yeah, I hooked you up. And what's your update, Miss Sienna?
It's almost done. It's going very well. I have 3 pages and basically everything is finished. We just need about like 2 or 3 more things and then just checking it up and making sure it's doing well. And then we're gonna put that link that you made or the actual
The
website.
URL.
Yes, the
Yep,
URL.
siennacreek.com. Mm-hmm.
Yep, and then we're going to actually put that to the website face. So,
Yep.
yeah,
And then you'll go live and you need to have a
yep,
celebration party.
yes,
And your website will be live. So yeah. So it's
yes.
that it's just super fun. So I really hope that people listening to this episode really think, how can this affect my life? Where does it already show up? And I'm just not
Mm-hmm.
conscious of it. Where can I open up and use my intuition a little more so I can live a more surrendered, peaceful life? That I truly believe that health issues, whether it's weight, skin, hair loss, any type of issues, go back to your own peace and your inner peace. And that's what I work with my clients on. So having the surrender experiment is just a part of that, but also taking action in terms of building your business. Like we're doing for Sienna here. She's working on building a foundation. So when she gets out of school, she's like up and running. And if she wants to get hired beforehand, that's good too. Okay. Not a bad thing, right?
True.
So you got 3 more years of school. So not a bad thing. And yeah, and that's what brings inner peace. That's what brings success. That's what brings abundance, all of those things. But having like following your intuition and your guidance and then having the conscious awareness around it is really important. So yeah. So I'm excited for you.
Thank you very much. I'm very excited to have it out. It'll be coming very shortly.
Yes. Yes, be perfect. You can say you did this over your freshman year summer. So
Yes.
yes, cool, cool. Anything else you wish to share about the books or any other aha moments? Feel free.
Um, I feel like I did have something to say, but now I can't recall. Um, oh, I don't know. I
That's
don't know. I
okay.
can't think of it anymore, but that was all other than that, but do you have anything else to say?
No, I think that's it. So if someone likes these conversations about consciousness and intuition, feel free to check out my shorter videos that are about 10 to 11 minutes long. They're no fluff, they're to the point, and they share stories and tips in terms of expanding your consciousness. And if you wish to work with me one-on-one, check out my website, melindavanfleet.com. So that's all I've got. Another episode in the wraps. We have a nice big
Yes.
playlist. So if anyone wishes to listen to past episodes of Sienna and I and our podcasting journey, which also started many years ago, right? They are
Yep.
more than welcome to check all those out too. So yeah.
Yeah. Thank you guys for watching. This was a great episode. Check out our other videos, as Melinda said. And when this website comes out, it will be posted on my LinkedIn. So make sure to follow my LinkedIn. It's just Sienna Krieg. Search up my name, it'll show up. And then you'll see everything, my updates on the website, updates on other things, and also Melinda Van Fleet. Check out her website, check out her LinkedIn, and reach out to us if you have any questions. Thank you guys.
Awesome. Love it. Thanks everybody for watching, and leave us a subscribe, like, and comment because we would love to hear from you. And if you have a book suggestion too, let us know that too. So in the meantime,
Yes.
read The Surrender Experiment if you're interested, and Sienna's book, Out of
Out of
Orange.
Orange.
Perfect. Awesome. Everyone, thanks everyone. Bye for now.
Thank you,
Thanks, Sienna.
everyone.
Love you.
Love you too.
Bye.